So I'm Mrs. Justina Stalsadai, an educationist, HR person, and a fashion designer on part-time basis. I have 3 kids. The first is 9, the second is 7, and the third is 5 days. Okay, so with the first child, my 9-year-old girl, when we got married during the honeymoon, we decided that we weren't going to start giving birth. We would wait for at least about a year to know each other before we started having babies. But then when we went to church, there was a prophecy that if I don't give birth, I might give birth in the next 10 years, and that was a little scary. So we had to start the game on. And then within the next 3 months, I took seed. Well, I was in the office and I was having this tummy pain, so I wasn't so comfortable. And my mommy is a DDNS. I called her and she said, you should go to the clinic to find out what is really going on. When I went, they said it was malaria. They checked on me severally, but they didn't see anything. It was after 8 weeks that they told me that, you are pregnant. And I was like, wow. She really hid for a long time before we discovered that she was there. The journey was quite smooth from the onset, but later the hyperemesis was a little bit bad. No eating, vomiting throughout. But because I was working too, it was a little bit easier. I'm thinking probably if I was to be staying home, I might even be more down. Yes, and the second one too, I think the first one was a year and a half or so before I realized I was pregnant. It was impromptu. I thought it was malaria. Doctors also thought it was malaria, and that one also lasted for about almost 2 months before doctors even realized I was pregnant. After that, we decided we had to hold on for a while to let them grow a little bit before the last one comes in. I mean, the pension baby comes in. And this is it. After 7 years, we tried. I think my hormones was disturbing me a little bit. I went to the hospital. I was on medication for about 3 months. And then we tried again and I took seed. This time I knew it before doctors even knew it. And the first 2 months was okay, but I was in the hospital due to hyperemesis for up to 20 weeks before I was discharged. I still couldn't eat, no drink, no fruits, no food. I was just on water. And I was being infused with blood all the time. The journey wasn't really easy. The last one, the journey wasn't really easy. It was that difficult. I was almost every day in the hospital. I was always with the doctor. It got to a time I regretted even going on that journey, but my husband kept encouraging me. He's been there throughout, and I thank him for that. He's been a great support. With the first one, I think I took my leave from the office 2 weeks before the due date. And because it was the last days to delivery was quite hectic for me. It was quite unbearable. There was this, they said they call it PGP or something, pelvic girdle pain. You can't walk, you can't sit for long, you always have to be in bed and all that. So the first one, to the labor set in 3 days before time. We were living at Latabiokoshi then, so I was visiting one of the hospitals nearby, and we went there. They said I was just 1.5 dilated, and I was in that state for like 2 days, and we were moving from Latabiokoshi to Tema, so we had to get a transfer to one of the hospitals in Tema. And when we got there too, I was admitted. My mom was with me. My dad was also around. My husband was there. There, I was admitted, took to the labor room. They did a VA. I was still 1.5. So that was from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday evening, the doctors were like, no, this is getting too much. And the contractions were quite painful anyway. So they said they were going to induce me. Well, I didn't know what that was then. And I thought once if it's going to get the baby out, then that's fine with me. And they started that Saturday morning. And the nurses told me that, oh, you'll be giving birth maybe later in the evening around 8 p.m. or maybe 9 p.m. I said, okay. But the pain was unbearable. Very, very unbearable. I was calling for doctors. I was calling my pastor. I was calling my husband because it's a public hospital anyway, so they won't allow your family members to come in. And there were quite a number of other ladies who were also coming to give birth. So you can't do anything. You don't have any support to rub your back, to do anything for you. You were just on your bed. And the nurses I wasn't more comfortable with the way they were treating us in there. Well, I was quite young in that room anyway, so the way they were talking to the older ones by me, I was a little bit scared to even show them any kind of pain or something, but I was really enduring. And I was crying. I called my uncle. My uncle is a Ghanaian. So I called him to come and do CS for me, and he said, no, you have no problem, so I'm not going to do any CS for you. Reject that thing and then just try and then labor so that you can have your baby and go home. I was crying. There was a cleaner who came around and I asked for scissors to even cut my womb and then take the baby out myself. And he was like, no. So he made sure that there was no sharp thing around me. And when I was feeling the urge to push, I called the nurses and they told me that the time wasn't up, so they never attended to me. And I was on the bed laboring and pushing. And I told them that the head was coming out and they weren't even minding me. They were busy watching television. So it was one nurse who was coming. I think she just was on duty. So she came to the labor room to check on the people there. And she realized that the head was coming out. That was when they asked me to walk to the labor room. Yes. And another nurse also saw that my mommy was standing outside and they knew she was a DDNS, so if they don't take care of me well, there would be a problem. They would have to report all the nurses. That was when they started paying attention to me. So I had to walk with the baby in between my legs to the labor ward to go and give birth. After that, and I had a tear, so they did an episiotomy for me. And even while the nurse was doing the episiotomy for me, she was chatting with another doctor. So the medicine they gave to me to dampen the place went off and they were sewing it through the skin. And that was severely painful. It wasn't a pleasant thing. I think the episiotomy was quite painful than even the labor itself. After that, I told my husband that I am not going to any public hospital to deliver again. So with the second one, during the due dates, I was at home and it was a Saturday too. My husband was going to work. He was like, sweet, are you okay? I said, oh, I'm very fine. Don't worry, you can go. He said, no, I'm not comfortable. If anything happens, just call me. Well, and then the contractions had started, but it was okay. So I drove myself to the clinic. This time it was a private clinic and the midwife was very nice. She was okay with me. When I went to, it was the same thing, 1.5 ccm. I don't know what this 1.5 means, but it looks like it's a trademark with me. On the way to the clinic, I stopped by some fruit seller to buy some oranges and eat. When I got there, the midwife checked me. She was like 1.5 cm. I said, hey, this thing. So go home. And then maybe come tomorrow or maybe in the evening when the contractions are very close together. I said, no, I am so tired. I won't go home today. I'm giving birth. I went with my things. I didn't even tell my husband that I'm in the clinic. The midwife was like, I'm going to a funeral and I don't think it's okay for you to be here alone. So I don't know what to do. I said, you can go. I'll just sit by the door and then wait for you. She said okay. And she came back within an hour and said she wasn't comfortable at the funeral. So she wants to come and check. And just that within 1 hour, when she came back and she checked me, I was like 4 cm. And she said, wow, that was fast. That was when I called my husband, because I got to the clinic around 1. And then by 2:30, she checked, I was like 4 cm. I called my husband and he said he was on his way to the house. So he will definitely come to the clinic before he goes to the house. I said, okay. He came to the place and then we were there. At that time, my daughter was with my dad. So that was quite easy for us. My husband was with me in the clinic. We were laboring together, rubbing my back, holding me, cheering me on and praying together too. And it was fun, but it was getting painful too. It got to about 7 cm and I wasn't dilating anymore. And the midwife was praying with me and all that. I told her that no CS. I didn't want any CS. She said if I trust in God and I believe in God, then everything would work out. So let's say I started laboring from around 1. By 8 p.m., I had delivered. It was painful though, but I had delivered. And this time too, I had tears. This tear wasn't quite deep, so I asked her not to sew it. If my husband won't chop it like that, then I wouldn't care because it's a second child. And she said, oh, it can heal by itself. So we left it like that. And everything was fine after a few weeks. Everything was okay. With the third one, that's the painful story, but a happy ending too. I suffered quite a lot, always at the hospital. At 35 weeks, labor set in and we thought the baby was coming. So I was giving steroids to grow the baby's lungs and all that. But after 2 days, contractions stopped. It wasn't happening again, and I was asked to go home and wait for contractions to set in again, which I did. And then the following week, that was the 36th week, it started again and it stopped in the evening. And the 38th week, it started again. And they weren't so painful, so there was nothing that could be done. And my doctor had also traveled. That was the most painful part. So the nurses couldn't do anything. And 39th too, it happened again. Now I was on my 40th weekend. I was too tired. Pelvic girdle pain. I was so uncomfortable. Sometimes I could just wake up at dawn around 2 a.m. and sit down and cry the whole night till morning. And my husband would be like, what is wrong with you? I know this is emotions, but it's getting too much. I said, I'm tired. I can't anymore. It's unbearable. I can't walk. I can't do anything. I can't eat. I can't do anything. I was so restless. Now I was getting to my 41st week and I was like, no, this baby should come out. This baby should come out. What is happening? I don't want to give birth in March. I still want to give birth in February. And we're getting close to March 2. And I called the midwife. I told the midwife that the contractions have started again. And this time around, it's not so painful too. But I'm tired. I'm tired. I don't want it to stop too. What can we do about it? And the pains I'm getting to, it's unbearable. So what do we do? And she said she will call the doctor and then find out what they can do to help me. So Wednesday evening, she asked me to come to the clinic, bring my things. When we were going, I was with my husband and my 2 kids. And they were all expecting the baby to come out. They were like, Mommy, we are not going to school today. We want to wait with you in the hospital for baby to come out before we go to school. I said, no, you go to school. After school, you come and meet the baby. So we agreed on that. We were in the hospital. They took me to my room. They gave me an infusion. And then they said I should wait. Maybe I'm done. They would induce me for the baby to come, for the contractions to, get closer together and then I can deliver. I said, okay. And I knew this induction thing was something because I remember the first child, so, they induced me and it was unbearable. And this one, because I wanted the child to come, I was like, even if it's unbearable, I'll take it because I want this child to come out. And trust me, this time around, it was more painful than the first one because I started in the morning around 8 and as at 11 p.m. I was still in labor. I wanted to push. The nurses were like, no, don't push. My husband was like, sweet, the nurses says don't push. If you push, you have a tear and all your cervix will be damaged. So don't push. I said, but I want to push. It was coming. It was terrible. My husband was crying with me. I was crying. The nurses were there. I was shivering. I couldn't do anything. It was so unbearable. It got to a time I said, God, I can't anymore. You said you are my strength, but this one I can't anymore. They should just stop the contraction and then Friday morning they can just do a CS on me and then I'll be fine. They were like, no, you are almost there, so just hold on. The nurses were like, just hold on. I said no. So I started pushing. I couldn't anymore. I started pushing. And they were like, okay, so the head is coming, so let's just go to the labor ward. I said no. The baby is coming. So we delivered in my room. it was quite a scene, but it was okay. It was worth it. I had tears again. And this time around, the nurses were like, I told you not to push. You said you push, so you've gotten tears. I said, don't sew it. They said they will sew it. We want your husband to be okay, so we will sew it for you. I pleaded with them. I did all that I could. They said, no, we will sew it. And they did. And I'm 5 days on. I'm still enduring the pain, but what will I do? Life hasn't been so easy for myself and my husband. He's been my support throughout. Looking at myself as a mother, I think the elderly people would say that akola we dey oye mpeni nsem. Mesoro ya che. I started doing so many things on my own when I was young, so I didn't see it as a big task for me. And as at then too, I was an administrative assistant with the first child, so my job was quite tedious because I was working in a church and there were programs every now and then. So my daughter went to school at 3 months. The beginning was quite tough though because I was like, are they going to take care of my daughter like the way I would? So for like 2 weeks, the breast milk wasn't really coming because I was emotionally stressed. But I think after the 2 weeks, I was fine because I was comfortable with the way the teachers were taking care of her. And the school I also chose for her to was quite homely, so everything was fine. Now, my life is in such that my dad works, my mom works. My dad is closer, my mom is at Sunyani. So I'm with just my husband. My siblings are also not close around for me to seek help. And I'm the firstborn anyway, so what will the little ones do even if they come around? And I basically did everything with the support of my husband. I think once in a while, my dad comes around to bathe the baby for me, the first and the second. And he was also quite helpful. If we want to go for a program or something, he would babysit them for me and then we can just go and then come back and pick the children. I think that was the only thing that was really helping us. But life throughout, we had a way of doing it. We make sure that both of us, myself and my husband, are always around to take care of them. If one is not around, one is there to help. But then I also made use of my friends. I mean, the few friends I have, they also have kids and they are the same age like my children. So when we are going somewhere and they are around, I can just drop them. I can go to wherever I want to go for like an hour or two, come back and then pick my kids. And they also do the same with me sometimes. So I think we help support each other. And that was basically how I survived through parenting the kids. I had this kind of interest in babies and relationships and marriage and all those things. So I was reading a lot. So I think, and I come from a family where there are doctors and nurses. And I see those things. My great grandmother, my grandmothers, they were like midwives. I was seeing those things. So it wasn't really new to me. It wasn't really new to me. But what I actually wanted was not for anybody to be squeezing my baby's head when they were bathing the child. I think my dad did some and I didn't like it. So what I started doing was that, oh, if I'm coming, oh, make sure you set everything before I come and bathe the child. By the time they come, you know what actually even baffles me is setting up a bowl, putting the soap and the sponge and heating water, and you see you've given birth fresh. You're already tired, you are weak, and then you have an in-law or something come to stay with you. Yes, they are coming to help you, but you end up doing most of the work because you set up everything. When they finish bathing the child, you take everything back, you clean up the place, you try to do all the other things. Meanwhile, they said they are supporting you. I don't believe in those things. Yes, they help. Yes, I don't argue with that, but I think it's a stress for me. I don't know if because I've been independent throughout, but I think it's a stress. I didn't want anybody to squeeze my baby's head or put hot water in the navel or the bum bum. My mommy was always telling me, I don't know, maybe because of the medical background I'm coming from, so I was quite in tune with all these things. And I think I was okay. I was really okay. The surprising thing I've realized so far is kids will always be different, no matter what you do. Growing up, I realized my parents kept comparing us, and that is not good. Because yes, I said that I'm an educationist. After going to school and learning and all those, I thought that was the right way of training a child. But having my master's in education, I realized no two kids are the same, not even twins. So there's no way I should compare my first child with the second. Although there will be some similarities, but definitely their behaviors and characters are different. One can be smart and the other can be dull. With time they can pick up, with time they might just fall back. But then there are always diverse means to try and then make them be at par with each other, rather than making the other feel bad towards the other. You don't make one superior than the other. You don't show them different love. I grew up experiencing that and it wasn't pleasant. I felt inferior. I had low self-esteem. And growing up, getting out of it, it wasn't easy for me. So getting out of it, I don't want any of my children to experience that. And surprisingly, they are showing the same traits when I was growing up with my siblings. And there is nothing I can do about it but to make sure that molding them in a godly way and then asking God's help to be on the right path so that they don't also get the low self-esteem and all that like I did. I never thought I was going to have a supporting husband because the area or the environment I'm coming from, I never saw any pleasant marriages around. It's either broken homes or single parents, or you don't really see that kind of connection. Even if they are grandparents and they are connected, in the home they are not. You only see it outside, they are not. Even in church and all those things. But I never knew that if you work hard and you trust in God, your relationship can be better. And 10 years on, trust me, I'm surprised because my daddy never went on 10-year marriage. You know, it was like bits and pieces. So I have like 2 stepmothers, I have my own mother, you know. Our lives is in a little bit of shambles, but we thank God that we've kept ourselves together up till now. I'm hoping that we grow old together and see our children. In fact, I'm willing to let all the kids go to boarding house early enough so that I can spend quality time with him.
How you are talking?
And he has agreed. So I never place my children above my husband. And that he always says thank you. Because I've learned it, that children, they are visitors in your home. They would come and they would go. Just like when we got married, they weren't there. They only came for a visit. When their time is up, they will leave us and go and start their own. And it will be left with myself and my husband. So if I don't create the relationship now, I don't know when next. So I have to make sure that I keep the relationship, so that when they go, the children go, I will still have that solid relationship with him. Raising my children, I decided with my husband that we would toe a particular line. Of course, using the godly way, and then their education too. We would want to let them go to schools that weren't so much congested with a lot of kids. At least a homely place for them to be able to, attain whatever that they have to. And then more so, we're also looking at ourselves growing up, the kind of privileges we didn't get to enjoy. We would want our kids to enjoy those things. So, not that we are going to pamper them or spoil them, no. But then we will make sure that what they have to get, they get. And then what they deserve to get at a particular point in time, they do get that one too. Then what we have to restrict them from, we do that as well. Yes, people around will say that, oh, but at the end of the day too, we are strict on them too. We don't compromise on that. If it is wrong, it is wrong. If it is right, it is right. If you have to do this for us to reward you, we will do it. So because of that, they know that if I do this and I tell mommy to buy me this, mommy will buy it for me. If I don't do this, daddy will cane me, that kind of thing. So basically, I think training the child, it is both partners, the husband and then the wife, should come to an agreement. Sometimes when my daughter does something and goes like, mommy says I should do this and daddy says this, he comes to me, mommy, daddy said that I shouldn't do this. Meanwhile, you said I should do. I said, no, daddy is the head of the house. Daddy is the head, I'm the assistant. Whatever daddy says is final. I can't say it. I will only say it when he is not around. And they understand it. Because if I respect the father, they would equally respect their father too. So if I'm giving him that due respect, why not? So I'm training them in such a, or probably we are training them in such a way that they will know who to give the respect to, when and when not to do the wrong thing or the right thing at the right time. When it comes to school, like I said earlier on, I'm looking at a homely place for my children. A homely place for my children. I don't want a school that is too congested. Every child has a different behavioral traits. Every child has their own learning pace. You can't push them or you can't force them to, do what they can't do when they are not yet there. So basically, because I'm an educationist, I look at the individual base of teaching. So a school that will take the child on one at a time, not in a class where everybody will say, the teacher will say, are we all okay? And then they will say, yes, madam. Meanwhile, people are lacking back. I don't really want that. Aside looking at the schools with a lot of children in one class, I also look at the godly aspect of the school. How well do they use the moral things and the Bible to teach the children as they are growing and then going through their education? Majority of schools around have a lot of this mixed religion stuff in there. Myself and my husband decided we didn't want schools that had this kind of mixed religion where they won't do national anthem, they won't go for worship, they won't do so many things concerning the Bible, teaching them things about the Bible. And my kids will come back from school telling us that my friend maybe from this country says this, and this is how they do it, so I don't want to do it. So kids and the way their way of thinking. My teacher says this, so it is this. They don't want to listen to what their parents want to even say. So we looked at all those factors, and then we also looked at how homely the teachers are, how they are going to relate with the parents. I guess it's coming from the fact that probably I'm an educationist, because I did a feasibility test to find out a lot of things about schools around where I stay before we decided to take our children to a particular school. And so far, it's been good. The 2 kids are at one place, and I don't have a problem taking the third one too there. Now that I'm a stay-home mom, for a while anyway, maybe in about 6-7 months, I should be on my feet, up and doing again. But in the future, we are looking at they going to the boarding house. I know people don't really like that, but then, of course, when they get to JHS, they have to be in the boarding house. They have to learn how to be independent. They can be independent when they are home, yes. But myself and my husband have decided that we would let them go to the boarding house so that we will also do what we have to do. Because of that, I have to relax on the kind of things I want to do as a career woman, to have more time for them right now as they are young, so that when they get into their teens, where we would have to come in forcefully and then train them very well. Of course, they are also growing into the outer world. That is where they are also going to meet their peers and then learn a little things from them out there. But then if we are coming in strongly, we are coming to direct and control what they are bringing from outside. So for now, I think we will just relax and then take care of them, whilst my husband do more of the career towing thing. I'll just relax for a while and then take care of them till they are of age, before I can also come in strongly and then we can live our lives. The most challenging aspect of it all is when my children challenge me. I don't know if we understand that, but then when they challenge you, it's a little bit frustrating, especially when they bring their homework from school and then you are trying to tell them that this is how you have to do it. They tell you, no, my teacher says this, I am not going to change it. If I change it, it will be like this. And then they will go and they will get wrong. When they get wrong, and sometimes they come to me, it's because daddy taught me, that is why I got wrong. It's because mommy taught me, that's why I got wrong. Meanwhile, they don't even know the thing. It's quite challenging. It's difficult when you have a child who is smart, always thinks that whatever I do is right, and they are not ready to compromise on what they know. It is difficult as a parent to even try and then, penetrate into their brains. It is very difficult. And that has been a challenge for myself and my husband, not only me. It's really a challenge. The journey has been so amazing, because let's say with my 5 days old daughter, I'm surprised she can even turn on the bed. So you can't even leave her alone, because you don't know what might happen to her. That's one. With my daughter, sometimes she wants to be all that responsible, sometimes she wants to be irresponsible. But then I also am amazed at how she wants to take care of the baby. She's behaving like the way when I was growing, I was doing, and I see an exact replica of myself in her. She's like so responsible. She wants to bathe the baby, she wants to clean her up, she wants to dress her, she wants to carry her. She wants to do all those things. I remember when I was still pregnant, she was counting my days, because I have a pregnancy book or a Bible that I read. She read everything and was telling me what to do, and I was so amazed. When I sit down and I don't sit down properly, she will tell you, Mommy, that's not how to sit down. The book says you sit down this way. Mommy, don't squat like that. It's not good. You squeeze the baby. Squat this way. I was quite like amazed. Like, how is she able to? I was having this Flow app and then Baby Center app on my phone I was using. And she knows the number of days I was due. She knows everything. She was basically counting my days for me. She knows everything. Everything. And she's a girl you can't hide anything from. And you can't lie to her because she will come and tell you something that will marvel you. I remember there was a time I was calling their private parts pee. Don't show your pee to anyone. I was there one day and she came to me and said, Mommy, you've always been telling me this thing is called pee. It's not called pee, it's vagina. I know. And I was like, who told you that? He said, Mommy, I was watching TV with you and somebody mentioned it, so I know. I also told them that you only kiss in TV. You can't kiss outside. So if I see them kissing anywhere, I will beat them. If they are not in the television, they can't kiss. So the very first time that their father gave me a peg when he was traveling, they were like, hey, Mommy, you and Daddy are not in the TV and you people are kissing. It was funny. I was like, really, this girl, she doesn't forget things. So one, you don't have to lie to her. My son is a little bit, I don't care, but he's also quite smart because he knows the girl will do it, so he doesn't care. But then when he also comes to you with questions and then he wants answers from you, trust me, he will get the answers. And he's the type to, when you ask him to do something, he goes like, Mommy, when I finish doing this, you have to pay me. And I asked him, where did you learn it from? I said, when I watch TV, when you look at the Canada people and the American people, when they finish working, they give them $1 and $2. So when I finish working, you have to pay me. And you see, up till now, they keep asking the Daddy, you still owe me 100 Ghana. You know that you still owe me 100. I'm like, 7 years, so the 100 Ghana for a day. And it's funny. It's amazing to be a parent, to know the kind of things your children can do, can say, the way they even react. When you buy something, I don't know, but 9 years and 7 years, I think there's some age difference for them to know that there's space. But these kids don't know that. They think they are twins. You buy shoe for this one today, they go like, why is my sister's own? Why didn't you buy two? Why is it not the same color? Why? The kind of questions they will ask you. So if you don't have the money, you don't buy it. If you have the money too and you can buy for just one, keep it. When you get for the next person, then you can buy for both of them, because the kind of questions you would answer. Trust me, when I was in the wire call, I didn't answer those questions. And I don't think I have to answer them now. Up and coming mothers, those who are yearning for, they should trust God. It will come. It will come at its own time. They shouldn't force it. If you force it, you'll be frustrated. You'll be desperate. You'll be listening to all sorts of things that are not even healthy for you. And then when it comes to, you should know that God gave it to you because you can do it. It doesn't really matter whether your child is not smart or your child is smart. You can do it. He's giving you that particular child because he knows you can. So you also have to have the faith in yourself that I'll be able to take care of them well. You shouldn't be listening to people and then adapting people's ideas and all that. Adapt to your own ideologies. It will help you because you know what is good for your child if you study them carefully. You don't have to wait for somebody to come and tell you that you should train up your child this way. Have they sat down to look at what they are doing to their own children before they come into you to tell you what you should do to yours? So we should also look at all those things, and I think that would take us far.